Hi there, my name is Ethan Klein, and my favorite hobby is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers. Today I invite you into my home to share my favorite pastime with you. Join me in creating generational wealth for my attorney.
Ethan Klein from the H3 podcast and H3H3 Productions is suing 3 different Twitch streamers because they reacted to his video on Twitch. Now you might ask yourself, doesn't Ethan do pretty much the same thing? Isn't he a reactor? And the answer is kind of, but these streamers were using Ethan's video in a way that Ethan argues fair use does not apply. So we're going to get into that today as I show you how to react to stuff correctly. It's not that hard to follow the fair use guidelines, so let's hop into this. Alright, so what happened here? Why is Ethan suing these people? Well, you see, 4 months ago, Ethan released the content nuke on Hassan Piker. It was an hour 42-minute long video, which basically tore apart Hassan. Anyway, when Ethan released this video, he had a plan in mind. He was going to watch all the streamers that react to it and go through and figure out which ones didn't add anything to the video. Ethan set this video up as a trap to get people who have harassed him in the past, who he knows are very bad at violating copyright with reaction content on Twitch, to watch his video in order to have a reason to sue them, which is like 4D chess, so I'm not too mad about it. Now, of course, this is a pretty good plan, especially coming out of Ethan Klein. I've never seen him do something this devious, and I gotta respect the deviousness here. Not to mention he's doing it for a good reason, right? He isn't doing it just to get back at these people because they've harassed him in the past. And when we get to the people that he's suing, they'll be familiar names that you know have gone up against people like Ethan Klein and basically anybody who's not as far left as Hassan in the past. They're all Hassan orbiters, and I don't think this is gonna go very well for them. But why exactly did Ethan do this? Why did he set a trap to try to get people to react in a way that he felt was wrong? Well, you see, Ethan here, he actually believes in real reactions. He thinks that people should add something to the content that they're using in order to elevate it and change it in a way to make it comply with fair use. But I don't know if any of you guys have ever gone onto Twitch and watched a reaction video, because 9 times out of 10, any reaction that I see on Twitch is somebody just sitting there silently doing nothing and possibly not even sitting there watching the video. A lot of the times they'll walk away during the reaction. Now, obviously that doesn't add anything to the reaction. It doesn't transform it. It's usually not transformative, and it's basically just a way for Twitch streamers to have easy content by taking stuff that other people have made in the past and using it for themselves. Now, of course, there are some people that do it correctly. For instance, Asmongold, who could watch a 30-second clip and turn it into a 30-minute video. However, the average Twitch streamer is doing stuff like streaming entire TV shows on Twitch, and Ethan Klein is actually very worried that this is going to lead to some kind of apocalypse on Twitch when Disney or some other big company comes after them. But don't just take that from me, let's listen to him.
My fear is that Sony or Disney comes along, sues everybody, and sets a devastating precedent that could endanger our entire field.
And I think that's a perfectly reasonable fear, because Twitch has absolutely no enforcement against copyright. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that they won't enforce it if somebody files a DMCA takedown. They obviously have to do that legally, but beyond what they have to do legally, Twitch doesn't seem to care. It's not like YouTube. Say I took one of Ethan's videos, like the content nuke, and I just straight ripped it and re-uploaded it all the same and everything. YouTube has a system built into the website which allows the copyright holder, in this case Ethan, to claim that video as their own and take the revenue from it. Whereas on Twitch, that's not really a thing. Twitch doesn't have the same copyright system as YouTube, which is actually a bad thing. You know, all the Twitch streamers, they think, oh, it's great because you can't stream on YouTube and watch TV shows because you'll get caught in the filter. So it's great you can do it on Twitch. But the problem with that, the reason you can't watch stuff on YouTube that is somebody just reacting to a major TV show, is because in the past YouTube has been sued, and it almost shut down the website at the time because copyright infringement was such a big problem. Then YouTube had to develop the tools to fight it in response to the lawsuit, and that's how we got to where we are today. Twitch has never actually been, you know, put through the ringer on this, and I think eventually they will. So I think Ethan is right to question this practice and try to make a change here. But who is Ethan suing? Well, if we go and take a look here, he will tell us. Let's take a listen.
Drum roll, please. Who's sweating at home, guys? Kaceytron, the queen of ripping farts and bong loads.
They do musicals. They're very musical people. I know. Are you being serious? Dog, what do you... Look! You think I made this?
Frogan, who, bless her soul, she's still rising.
Can I walk away and use the bathroom? Do I have permission? Can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing.
Twitch is liable for me interviewing a Yemeni teenager who's only known genocide his entire life.
What happened?
And they were fucking talking.
And Denims, the queen of self-owning. And my God, is she the queen of that?
It's very obvious from the way that guy's talking, he's a Sneeko fan.
Oh my God, bro, I love you. Can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty. That's right, Ethan Klein is suing Denims here. He's suing Frogan, and he's suing Kaceytron. 3 people who are in Hassan's orbit who have been very critical of him in the past, that he just happened to catch watching his video in its entirety without really being transformative transformative, at least in Ethan Klein's opinion, and violating fair use, at least in Ethan Klein's opinion. Now, part of the reason that he's able to say that their reactions to his video are not fair use is because of the principles of fair use themselves. So if we go to the US copyrightoffice.gov and we find out about fair use, right? This is the page where they talk about how fair use exists and how you have to use it. We go down here to about fair use. So there's 4 factors that can go into determining whether or not something is fair use. The first one is the purpose and character of the use, including whether the use is of a commercial nature or is for a non-profit educational purposes. This one doesn't really apply to YouTube and Twitch because obviously everybody's using it for a commercial purpose. So this part here, pretty much every YouTube video, every Twitch stream fails on this. However, you only have to meet one of these for it to be considered fair use. So using something commercially isn't necessarily a failure of fair use. Number 2 is the nature of the copyrighted work. This factor analyzes the degree to which the work that was used relates to the copyright's purpose of encouraging creative expression. Thus, using a more creative or imaginative work, such as a novel, movie, or song, is less likely to support a claim of fair use than using factual work such as a technical article or news item. Now, what this is basically saying is that if you're using something that is just a fact that somebody else has put out there, then that's usually fine, right? Depends on the nature. So if somebody writes a news article claiming that Ethan Klein was riding a motorcycle in his own front lawn, and then I reuse that article in my own video about the event, that would be something that would fall closer into fair use because it's a factual nature. However, if somebody wrote an article where they told a story about Ethan Klein riding a motorcycle in his front yard that was fictional, it's harder to prove fair use in that way because it's something that came out of somebody's mind and nothing else. This is also part of where transformative. Now, when you hear somebody say something about fair use being transformative, part of that can come from here. If you're using something that is a fact that somebody else published in like an article or a video in order to prove a point in your video, that itself helps you make a fair use argument. Now, the next option here, amount or substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. Now, what this means is when you're sued for copyright infringement and you claim fair use, the court's going to look at how much of the original content you used in your content. So if you're a Twitch streamer, you're streaming Ethan Klein's entire video, they're going to look at the entire stream that you did. They're going to find Ethan Klein's video. They're going to see how much of it you used and how long you actually were talking about it. But that's not where it stops. Then they're going to look at, did you use more than you had to in order to react to it? So for instance, where I use just clips from Ethan Klein's video in this video, instead of using the entirety of Ethan's uploaded video, I have a higher chance of being protected by fair use because I'm only using the portions of Ethan's video which I need to in order to make my point. And if I use the entirety of his video and I didn't need to do that, then that could take away from my fair use defense. And then finally, the fourth option, effect of the use upon the potential market or value of the copyrighted work. This is where the rest of the idea of transformative content comes in, right? The courts review whether and to what extent the unlicensed use harms the existing or future market for the copyright owner's original work. So what that means is if you're using somebody else's content, right, somebody else's copyrighted material, and you are doing something completely unique that would have no effect on the original video. So say Ethan Klein makes his content nuke and you take out edits from it and you make a funny meme compilation of all the funny faces that Ethan Klein makes in that video, that would be more protected under fair use than just uploading the entirety of his video and putting yellow boxes over his face when he makes a funny face, if that makes any sense. The point is that you have to transform something so that it doesn't fit the same market niche as the original video. Now, someone like Asmongold actually does that really well, where he will react to something and he actually makes it harder to watch the original video by constantly pausing and interrupting the video that he's reacting to in order to insert his own opinions. So it's not a market substitute, even though he watches the videos in their entirety, because nobody's going to watch his version over the original version if they were only showing up for the original version. In an Asmongold video, people are showing up for Asmongold's take on the video, which is different and does not fit into the same market niche. So obviously, fair use is pretty complicated, and it's going to be hard for these creators that Ethan Klein is suing to prove fair use, because that's right, fair use is an affirmative defense. They have to claim it and prove that they were doing it correctly, which is not going to be easy, especially when you consider that Ethan almost certainly has better lawyers and more money to fight this. On top of that, Ethan has clips of all of them saying some variation of, thank you for watching my video so that you don't have to go and watch Ethan's and support him indirectly, which is a major problem for them because that directly violates the fourth rule here. If you're telling people that they're watching your video because you don't want them to pay the original creator, that, my friends, is a direct effect that you're having on the original market for the video, which is a problem for Frogan, it's a problem for Denims, and it's a problem for Kaceytron. So do you guys think that Ethan's gonna win this? Or do you think that these streamers have a good fair use claim? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day and God bless you.